Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about my first stop motion. Okay, so I kind of lie a little bit. This isn't actually my first ever stop motion that we're going to talk about today. It's actually my second, but it is the first stop motion I was ever paid to create, which I figure works because it's the first one that I really planned out and I really shot for somebody. And it was legit my second ever stop motion. So it works because my first stop motion really, honestly, was nothing exciting. It was a cup of coffee from a flat lay perspective, and I just had some beans go like this around it. It's not even worth discussing. I don't even have it anymore. However, when I made that stop motion and I posted it on Facebook, somebody saw it, got in touch and said, hey, could you make something for us? And that's the one we're going to talk about today. It was very ambitious for my first ever stop motion. Looking back on it, I think that I feel it was really ambitious, but when I look back on it, I'm like, it's actually quite simple. But there are a lot of mistakes in it that I see now that I would never do now. And we're going to talk about those because that's all learning. It's all part of the learning process, and it's what's going to make you better as a stop motion animator and a photographer if you can look back on these things and see where you messed up, what you could have done better, and what all around would have made it for a better video. At the end of the day, the customer was really happy with it. They ended up using it. I got paid for it. Everything was good. I just look back at it now and I see all sorts of problems that I just wouldn't do now and would fix. So let's have a watch, and as we watch it, I'm going to talk about a bunch of things while we're watching this. I'm going to talk about what my thought processes were for certain things, what I did wrong for certain things, and what I did right for certain things, whether that be pure luck or actual skill. A lot of it was luck. It was my first real stop motion. Let's go have a look. I'll tell you straight off the bat, you're going to see the first problem. Let me hit play and we'll see if you notice the problem, and if you don't, that's fine. I'm going to talk about the problem. So, do you see the problem straight off the bat? Let's play that 2 seconds again. Watch the blue background when this first 2 seconds are playing. There's flickering. So there's all sorts of flickering issues you can have with stop motion, and I'm going to devote an entire video to flickering, dealing with lights. However, this flickering has nothing to do with the lights. Nothing to do with the lights. Absolutely nothing. This has to do with something really, really, really dumb. Do not. Tip number 1. Do not have your white balance on auto when you are shooting a stop motion. That is the flickering that you're seeing. Even though nothing in the scene changes much, what we've done is we've introduced other colors into the scene, therefore changing the white balance ever so slightly between shots, and you get a slight flickering. Now there's 2 ways to combat this that I currently do. One is set your white balance to something and don't change it. Shoot at that white balance for the entire stop motion. Also, if you do need to make adjustments to your white balance after you've shot and you're in your editing, make sure that same white balance is applied through all of them. That's very important. So, white balance issue straight off the bat. Now, one of the other things we're going to see happen here is, well, let's press play and I will tell you what the next issue is. So, actually, we haven't gotten to the next issue, but I do want to talk about this particular scene that you just saw. I planned a lot for this stop motion. So I knew exactly what was going to happen and when it was going to happen. And I knew that peeling this orange, trying to do it in a stop motion way, was going to be very difficult. So I did a lot of Googling before I shot, and I prepped this orange so that it would be easy to peel in the way that I did. And that's why you see this hole in the bottom of the orange here. That was how I prepped the orange to be shot in a stop motion way, because there was no way I was going to be able to peel an orange in a stop motion. Everything else was really simple, actually, and because they didn't have to move very much, I didn't have to do much prep work for them. I did plan in my head, how am I going to peel this banana? How am I going to chop the banana? How am I going to chop up the apple? The orange gave me the biggest problem, but I planned it very much, and it ended up looking pretty good. I'll rewind it just a little bit so we can see it again, and then we'll move on to the next problem. So you can see the orange I did a pretty good job with. So this, you see what's happening here. Let's back up. Watch this measuring jug come into frame, and I will explain something to you. So it comes in, and it does that weird little turn. So when I planned this out, I planned everything to the second. I didn't know what else to do. So we knew this animation was going to be 30 seconds long. And I wrote down, this is going to happen for 1 second. This is going to happen for 1 second. This is going to happen for 2 seconds. I don't remember the exact timings, but I will tell you, that measuring jug that you see sort of right here came in too fast. I moved it into frame too fast, so I had to fill time, and I gave it a little jiggle, a little spin to fill the gap in time. While planning it out like that is a really good idea, I also over-planned it. I over-planned it to the point that it lost any sort of organic things that would have happened. And I forced other things to happen, like turning the little jug to fill that little bit of time because it came in too fast. Not really a big deal, but you know, it takes away from it a little bit. It's one of those weird little quirks, and it happens quite a bit in this video. I will point them out every time. There's little things that come in too fast, and I fill some time. But yeah, let's continue watching. Okay, so everything goes into the measuring container, which is fine. This, I will tell you, this napkin cleaning up the juice was not planned. What had happened is it had taken me so long to cut up the orange and all that stuff and get it into the container that now I had all this juice on the cutting board. So I added this bit in just to clean it up, because I was thinking, do I just want the juices to disappear? No, let's make it a little bit more realistic, and we'll put that in. So that's why you get this napkin cleaning up the juices. Okay, so this bottle of Dream rice milk, again, I planned the little turn that you're going to see, but it did come in again too fast. And I will tell you why. So if you watch the video, I'll link it up in the corner, that I created very recently about making smooth movements in Dragon Frame. Not only was this before I knew how to do that, it was before I even used Dragon Frame. This was shot tethered into Lightroom, which was a disaster. It wasn't a disaster because obviously it turned out okay and it worked, but it wasn't easy. And the main reason is you get no live view on Lightroom when you tether. And so I had to basically take a shot, look at it, go back to the previous shot, look at it, and see if things were in the same place like they were supposed to be, if they'd moved the right distance, whatever it was. I had no reference for how far to move things. It was so bad, in fact, because this was before I even knew Dragon Frame existed, that I looked at my sheet on how far I planned things to happen for. And so I don't know if these are the right numbers or not, but let's say I said this container of rice milk is going to take 12 shots to come in because it's going to be 1 second. I literally took a tape measure and measured out how far it was going to move and be like, right, it's got to move 12 centimeters. So 12 shots, we're going to move it 1 centimeter between each shot. That's literally how I did this then, because I didn't know any better. And it worked for the most part, but it also led to some problems. So we'll continue. So it's going to do its little spin now. The lid coming off, I was actually worried about going into it, but it actually was super easy. It was fine. I will tell you how I did this part, how this jug up there, how it starts filling is, this was an empty container of rice milk and I had a full container of rice milk, and I literally just poured a little bit into the jug between each shot, and that's how it starts filling up. So it fills up, lid's gonna go back on. This spin was literally a time filler. That is another instance where it was a time filler. I filled up the jug too fast. I think I filled it up twice as fast as it was supposed to fill up. And so I did this little spin with the bottle to make up the time before I had it move over a little bit. The reason it moves over a little bit is because other things are about to come into the frame. Let's watch. I'll tell you something that's about to happen here. Oh, I forgot that it leaves the frame completely. Sorry. I thought it was just moving over. So it spins, it leaves. Now we've got the jug being blended, because what we're doing is we're making a smoothie. This part was surprisingly really easy, and I'm going to explain it first, and I'm going to rewind it a little bit so we can watch this part again and I can talk about where I messed up. But I would take it out of shot. I had a stick blender in, put it back in shot, and I wanted it to rotate, which was very ambitious. I wanted the jug to rotate as if it was blending it while it was rotating. To be fair, it turned out okay. It could have been a lot worse, especially considering I was shooting in Lightroom. I think it turned out okay. But because I was shooting in Lightroom and I didn't have live view to preview everything, and I didn't have Dragon Frame, which I could then have onion skinning to see my previous frame, it gets a little bit jerky. The rotation doesn't quite go right. It moves around a little bit, and it's not great. The customer was happy. I watch it and I sort of shudder because it's pretty bad in my opinion. I'll rewind it a little bit so you can see it in its full glory. So we'll start here. Now watch the jug when it starts blending. It's not great. See the little jitters and stutters, and the blending itself went really well. And the timing was surprisingly spot on, which is weird considering I filled up the jug with the milk way too fast and I did the blending sort of perfectly. However, this glass that's coming in, again, it comes in too fast, and I fill time by having it do this pointless little loop that you'll see here. Pointless little loop purely because I'd done it too fast. I needed to kill some time. The filling up was actually pretty easy. Again, I did not take the jug out, and you can see that I didn't, because that jug never moves. What I did instead is I had the glass, I kept the glass there, I kept the jug there, I had a big spoon, like a ladle, ladled some out, put it in the glass, took a shot, ladled some out, put it in the glass, took the shot, and that was it. Right, so the glass fills, and then I have the jug leave the frame, and everything else comes into the frame, and we have that nice end frame arrangement. Now, I think the end frame is fine. I think it works. However, if I were doing this now, I would have done it differently than I did here. Here, I shot it in order. So I shot it forward. So when that jug left the frame, I had the rice milk come into its spot, and then boom, 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 put everything down. But because I was doing it in this sort of boom, 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 boom way, it was fine. I could sort of visualize the arrangement before I pressed the shutter and took the shot. If I was doing it now, I would do it differently, and I would shoot it in reverse. I would start with the end frame how I wanted it to look, especially because that jug leaves and we're left with an empty frame again. So I would start with the end frame. I would compose it exactly how I want it to look, and then I would just shoot it in reverse and have everything leave, and then you can just reverse that playback. I start with the end frame because that's the hero image. I start with the end frame and I shoot it in reverse, so that way it's perfect. If I can't shoot it in reverse, I will still compose it and I will draw everything in Dragon Frame where it's supposed to be. So when things move in, they go right where I want them to go. Main takeaways I would say from this is do not shoot your stop motions with your white balance on auto. use a software that will at least give you a live view when you're shooting. I know I always go on about Dragon Frame, but I use Dragon Frame and I love Dragon Frame. There will be a link in the description below. Use a software that is meant for stop motions. Plan it, but don't plan the life out of it. I feel like with this, I planned the life out of it. It still shows a smoothie being made and it still looks good. But because I planned it so much, I feel like it's lacking a little bit in emotion. But yeah, anyways, go to my website if you want. It'll be in the description below as well. If there's a stop motion on my website or even here on my YouTube channel that you want me to talk about, let me know. I'm more than happy to talk about things I've messed up or things that don't look great. Maybe I'll find one that's not posted anywhere that I shot that I think is not great, and we'll talk about that one. But anyways, I hope you liked the video. If you haven't already, please give the video a big fat thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell, all that nonsense. I'm going to do a lot more videos on Dragon Frame. I'm getting people asking me to go more in depth on Dragon Frame, and I will make sure all you photographers understand how to do stop motions and make it a good part of your business. And until then, I will see you later.